Welcome to Real Estate Riches Roadmap.
Roadmap Bridges? Roadmap to Riches?
Formerly Basement Tales, and today on Formerly Basement Tales, Sarah joins us. Sarah has recently participated in a wholesale transaction? No. In a off-market transaction. And you can tell us about your experience with that and what you're doing in the real estate industry, and you're new to it and finding houses to sell. And so welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, tell us what you're doing in the real estate. First of all, tell us give me your college background, your first job, your property management job, and then what you're doing now.
Okay.
Start with all that.
So my full resume. Went to Virginia Tech, and then I moved back up here to Northern Virginia. Got a job with PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is a huge consulting. They're in the audit, tax world, and I was on the audit side of the firm, and so it was a lot of spreadsheets. It was
Audit what? What were you auditing? Taxes? Auditing cash flows? Auditing
we were doing internal audit.
financial statements?
So it really depended on the client. So the project that I was on, we did some HR audits. We didn't really do finance because I was still considered entry level. So they wanted you to get either your CPA or your there's an internal audit certification that you wanted to get. So it was very much just exposure to kind of how PwC works with a lot of these bigger companies in the area because their clients are all very big companies. So I was in that role for about a year and a half.
Did you like it?
Miserable. Absolutely miserable. I couldn't stand looking at the spreadsheets every day. I needed more people interaction. And the version of networking in the corporate environment, it's very cold. It seems very transactional. And I didn't like it. So I was coming into this real world with I didn't really know what networking meant. I only knew it in the corporate sense. And then things in life happened, and I ended up quitting my job because my mental health just absolutely deteriorated.
Yeah.
Quit my job, and then I was like, what am I gonna do? And being in the DMV area for over 20 plus years, I knew the real estate industry, it's very, very big here. So on a whim, I decided to study for my real estate license. I was one of those people that didn't talk to anybody that was actually in the industry before I got into it. It was just something where I was like, let me just try. And if I pass my exams, then I'll take it as a sign. So ended up studying for my license.
This is a real estate podcast, right?
This is the last I checked, yeah. Well, how long? I'm curious. How many hours or how long do you think it took to actually do that?
It took me a while because
right.
Yeah, I was going through some family stuff at the time, so I took a couple months off. And
but I guess I meant more of when you're in the studying, and I'm just curious. I've always thought maybe I should get a real estate license. What's it like?
6 months is a safe number to put for me. It probably could have been faster. I think most people like 2 to 3 months.
But other people have other jobs.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Is usually people are working, and so you're not just studying, and that stuff is boring. It's a lot of vocab. It's like school all over again.
Right.
So I ended up studying for the license, and then I passed and ended up joining a team. So I was on the retail side of real estate for some time right before the rate shot up. So I actually got to see a little bit of quote unquote the normal market back then. And then the rate shot up, and we saw this huge.
But what company was it?
I hung my license with EXP. Which I still have it with EXP now. Nice. And so did that, and then I was like, whoa, this is a shifting market. I had never been part of a shifting market. My book of business was very small still because I had only been in the industry for a couple months before the rate shot up.
Takes a long time.
Yeah, and all of
the knives are out at that point.
Right. And there's agents where their businesses are just built on referrals because they've been in it for 20 plus years, and I didn't have that. Mine was doing all the open houses every weekend, doing the cold calls, and the door knocking and the rentals and hoping that they would eventually be buying at some point.
out.
Yeah. So, and we keep going, and then I'm like, like, I don't know, like, this is a lot. Like, it was mentally very draining. I felt like I was getting paid to be a therapist most of the time.
That's probably
Because you're dealing
right.
with a lot of personalities and a lot
Sure.
of emotions and
Fighting spouses.
and you're running around doing all these showings, but there's no guarantee that they're going to buy a house, right? Because it's not set. And I mean, every single closing that I've had one point in that transaction where I was like, oh my God, like this is going to fall apart. Whether it was at the closing table or like their loan wasn't going to work out, or the buyers got cold feet, or the sellers realized that they actually had bankruptcy still on their record and it wasn't cleared, so they weren't netting as much. So after all of that, and then after getting yelled at by some seller over the phone, I was like, okay, need to do something else. Still wanted to stay in the industry because I knew there was a lot of opportunity there. And by that point, I definitely understood more of, okay, there's the retail side, there's obviously the commercial side as well, and then there's also an investment side.
You know, the terminology and all that.
So I had the opportunity to help out at a property management company with one of the agents I had worked with previously. So I got to see that side. And as you guys know, property management, I tell people it's like the wild, wild west of real estate because it's regulated, but it's not at the same time. And everybody runs their business very differently, which is fine, but there seems to be no baseline. There's not enough tech that supports the industry. It's very inefficient. You know, you're managing communications with the landlord, with the tenants, with the vendors, and it's just
A mishmash.
crazy, right? Just crazy. So
I've seen something like that.
Yeah, we've heard of it.
right. And we only had 10, 15 properties at that time, and you guys have 50 now.
But was it
so.
boring?
That
I've seen that too.
Right. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is the same thing that I've seen, by being an agent.
I'm good with the boring part. Yeah. Let's move on. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was like, I love the relationship side. I love being, working with people. I also understand that, personalities is just something that comes with the service industry.
Yeah.
Right. So I
You haven't said anything encouraging about this industry yet. Right?
I'm getting there.
There's a lot of personalities. You've got counseling you're doing for people. You've got bored.
Okay,
You've got
bored.
kind of an ideal training, really.
You've got boredom. What else do you have there?
So to bring this full circle and to end on a positive note, which I always enjoy doing, I had met Charlie at one of these events that I was going to. I think it was Grid Woodbridge is where I first met him. And I remember I heard him speak at one of those meetups, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's a really smart guy. And also, what the heck is hard money lending? I had never heard of it. Yeah. And he did a presentation on it. And every time he introduced himself, he's like, yeah, I'm a hard money lender. I don't run your credit. Like where it's asset-backed loans. And he's like using all this terminology, which I'm like kind of understanding, but also not. Because I'm used to your typical bank or, some institution that's underwriting these loans, working with first-time home buyers, you're doing the conventional loans and all of it.
Right.
And so I had already, so anyways, had seen him speak and I was like, this is really interesting. And then when I was doing the property management and then I got to my wit's end with that, called him and I was like, hey, I don't want to do property management and I want to do something else. But again, still want to stay within the real estate world.
Right.
And so at that point, you guys had just launched your coaching program,
In the
right?
process of.
Yeah, so it was very early on because it was last May, right? I think it was last May-ish is when I reached out to you, if I have that right.
Oh, that's right. It was May. It was Memorial. It was Memorial Day.
Yeah, what a year. And then he was like, hey, and so he kind of filled me in on the different business lines that you guys had. And then he was like, we would love your support on the marketing side for the coaching program. And then you can also see the different lines of business that we have. And I was like, oh, this is great. And so to your point about everything previous being a very negative experience, everything after seeing what Clear Sky has been doing has been a very positive experience because I realized that there are actually people in the industry that are doing actual deals, real deals, and not just talking about it. And the real estate industry has a reputation for people being very dishonest. And also realize that there is that 1%, which I would say, you guys are sitting right here, that are very transparent with people, and you're really not trying to steer anybody off course, because it's very much, hey, what is in your best interest, right? We're in it to help you make money, because what
The
what
goal
the
is for
point?
everybody to make money.
Yeah, you're happy, we're happy, right? It's that, but not everybody thinks in that way. It's every man for themselves.
Well, now this is interesting. I'm going to fill in a missing part of this. And this is an interesting story because this is kind of brings it full circle. Is that we met, it was Grid Woodbridge, right? A couple times.
Yeah.
And then I remember specifically we were sitting back talking about something, but then remember, I don't know how we got on this topic, but at the time, it was before we had education. We were kind of working on the courses. And you asked me about, or I asked you about my LinkedIn account. And I was telling you how much I hate social media.
I remember that.
Do you remember this? And then you said to me, "Oh, don't worry, I'll take care of your LinkedIn account or something." Remember you said something like that?
Yeah.
Because at the time I only had LinkedIn. I didn't have Instagram. I didn't have this Facebook stuff. And so Sarah's like, I'll just take over your LinkedIn account, make posts and comment and do this. I'm thinking to myself, I don't really know you that well, but I really like this idea.
Well, I was going to say before, Charlie's the closest thing we've got to a marketer in the group. I mean, so we're like, we could probably use some help there. That's
yeah, but I hate social media. I always did because, we're obviously younger than you.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much. And so I was thinking, this is really cool, but I don't really know you. But I'm like, okay, well, I'll use this. I get to know you. And so push came to shove, but I did know that the property management side was probably a no-win business model because we had tried to do property management in Green Dot Property Management, and we were managing properties for other folks. And I think, well, we had our own, but then we were managing maybe another 8 to 10 on the side. And I know Sam absolutely hated it.
Right.
Yeah,
We hated
You just couldn't get any
every part of it.
The money part of it unless you did large scale.
Yeah.
Like hundreds. The starting point would be like 200.
Yes,
and then you could have maybe 2 people help, and then if
and it would be easy,
tolerable,
and it'd be easier if we bought it.
Yeah,
right. We
way
should
easier.
buy the property
so if
management.
you're going to have property management company, you want 500 accounts, and you want to have a team of 10 people.
What's the usual fee that a place would charge for
Some
that?
people charge about 8.
Yeah, 8%.
8 plus.
Is a
6
sweet
to 10.
spot. Yeah.
6 to 10,
Plus
but
cost.
usually 8%
plus the cost.
So,
Right.
so
And
then what
they
happened?
don't control your cost anyhow.
Right. So then there were
It's not a
two.
great
Well, there were
experience
two
usually.
businesses we had to get the hell out of. Number one was the property management business because it wasn't going to make as much money, and then number two, just as importantly, was the broker agent business.
Yeah.
Right. Recruiting all these agents and have them and taking some of their commission. So those were two business lines that boring, but also that we knew
You can't make money in.
can't make money. You couldn't scale it either. It's hard to scale. I mean,
But I always say this about real estate that I love, that I find it is so big and there's so many parts to it and there's so many places to make money that you can be like, I don't want to do that. Some people may love it. I don't know. They love property. Great. Have at it. There's about 150 other ways to make money in real estate. And the way we do it, I enjoy. You meet people, you have deals, whatever. We do the educational stuff. So you can find a niche in real estate that works for you, I think, for most people.
Yeah, agreed. Totally agreed. And so the other thing too that was going on with us was that, we start in Clear Sky Education. We had to start in the social media accounts, which, by the way, we knew and understood that we weren't very good. And so I knew that the property management side with the company, I knew that was going to go nowhere and nowhere fast. But I didn't think, and I had a feeling you guys were probably going to struggle to make a little bit of money, but I never thought that you would ask me to come work with us because you need another place to go. But I thought that was actually perfect, even though good timing, even though these guys didn't really know you. I was like, okay, well, it was just like the Danica experience. So when we hired Danica, I don't know if you know Danica or not, we really didn't have a position. This is kind of what you're going through with us a little bit, is we didn't really have a position for Danica, but I was so sick of hearing Danica complain about her employer that she was working for that I just went ahead and I knew she was a good worker. I knew she was great and she was very strong on the property management side. And I knew Heather was working on our property side and Danica could fit in fine. So I just told her, okay, Danica, I knew her salary. And I was like, oh, we'll pay you $5,000 more. Will you come work with us? Just to keep her quiet because I don't want to hear about her complaining about
This is
her
an
job.
interesting way to look for a job. I like this.
Thinking that she would go back to the other company, tell them what we were paying her. They would give her a raise. I wouldn't have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Wrong. So then what happened was, I'm going to tie this back, is that Danica came and worked for us. Oh, by the way, what a great worker. So we hired Danica, but we didn't really have a position for Danica and we didn't have a need for her. But because I had already committed, Sam kind of agreed, so we brought her on. And so we just put the entire property management piece on her. We put the certificate of satisfaction piece from the hard money side on her, and she was a great worker. And so we just created a spot for her because I knew she was good and she was going to be a great person to work with, and she was. But she ended up going back to her other company because her other company realized it's one of those things where they don't realize what they have until it's gone.
It's gone, yeah.
And so they made her a raise. They offered her more money. And so we were at the point where interest rates were rising. Yep. We were trying to refinance our portfolio. And so we were like, okay, well, we could do without a salary to sort of see what the times were going to be like because we didn't know. We thought we were entering into much rougher waters than we actually did. And so she went back and worked with her company. And the same thing was with you, is when you called me up telling me what your problems were on the property management side, I was like, sure, let me talk to our HR department.
Yeah.
That's we all.
Did you change your voice at all?
Yeah, we all look at Sam,
yeah.
our HR department.
Yeah.
And so I thought just because of the good-naturedness of you offering to take over the social media side, even though I know that's not what your forte was per se. I knew you had this Virginia Tech background. I knew you had the Price Waterhouse background. I knew you had the property management background. I knew you were licensed. I was like, and I also knew about PPP, Petite Party Planners. So I knew about your event planning thing. So I was to myself, and I did the same thing with Danica. I was like, Danica, if you want to fix and flip houses, go find them. If you want to start your own property management company, go do it. I said, because what we were trying to do is be a little bit more entrepreneurial with Danica.
Right.
And we were going to give Danica all of our properties so that we didn't have to deal with it. Well, that never happened because Danica realized that she wasn't an entrepreneur.
Right.
She realized that.
Right.
And that was okay.
Yep.
And so the same thing with you is when we brought you on, we didn't really have a defined role, and we still kind of don't, but we'll eventually probably get there. But I figured, though, because of you giving me out the olive branch to run my LinkedIn account, which I think had, 5,200 followers, whatever the hell it was, but they weren't really legitimate followers. But I figured because you had already done that for me, I'm like, oh, okay, we need the marketing side. We need the social media side for Clear Sky Education. So, okay, why not bring you on? I know I kind of promised you about you could get more involved on the hard money side, which that's still always out there. And that's how we did it.
Well, and that's my view of hiring people too. It's a little bit like our earlier podcast about people's attitude. I mean, if somebody shows up on time, wants to work hard, works hard, and is interested in expanding their world, that's relatively rare to find somebody like that. Yeah. There's going to be a place for a person like that, as opposed to somebody who doesn't have that kind of desire and intelligence and flexibility and all of that. That's the way to do it, I think, is you're going to be successful.
Yeah, and especially for us, we like to hire folks and hopefully not leave them because Karen, well, especially Heather's, 17 years?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Karen is longer than Heather, 18 years. Alex is 14 or 15 years. I was hoping, obviously, Danica was going to stick around longer. And I know it's funny because I already know this. To this day, she's still upset she's gone. She wants to come back and she wants to come back. But for us as a business, we've never laid anybody off and we probably never will. But she got the other offer probably at a pretty good time for us because we didn't want to carry the salary because of the
right. And business goes up and down.
But she's the only person that's really left us, and so that's a lot to say for it. So, all right, so let's dial this forward and let's talk about a deal that you recently done, and then you can go into it as specifically as you want to, maybe if you don't want to deal with the personal side of it, you don't have to. Just let's kind of first of all, tell us about tell us about your event planning experience. Tell us about our monthly meetup that we have. So tell us your roles in that. And then let's get into this actual deal that you've recently done.
Yep.
So let's go through all that.
Okay, so make this as short as possible. So when I was part of the property management company, biggest thing is how do you get new business? So I decided that I've had enough of the cold calls, had enough of the cold emails, so I hit the networking events. And in this area, there's probably like 5 a day that you can go to. So I started going to maybe 4 or 5 events a week. I mean, it was...
Oh, you were doing that many?
Yeah.
So what were you doing? Grid?
It was grid. It was stuff at the Tower Club because I was part of a group called Nexco, which is kind of like BNI, but it's not.
It's a business meetup.
It is, right. And so we had bi-weekly meetings, and then those one-off, whatever, like happy hours that people were doing around
CRE,
here.
right? Did you go to the CRE
I didn't go to the CRE ones back then, but I also expanded my reach, so it wasn't just the real estate industry. It was like business networking. It was some other industries too. And back to your question about the event planning, I realized very soon that I really liked events. I really liked the event planning side. I really liked the organizing, the details, keeping track of everything, and watching it all come together was, I really enjoyed it.
Actually fun.
Right.
Yes,
actually
there's
fun.
nothing wrong with enjoying your work.
Right.
Yeah.
And I realized that, all these ideas that I have in my head, or all these different line items, like they come together on the day of an event, like the Clear Sky Deals meetup. And so I decided that I wanted to do more events in the city, which is also part of the reason why I moved to DC. And I started reaching out to people there, started networking with people in the city, because the venues over there are very different than here, right? We're dealing with the suburbs of Virginia, whereas DC has like, the hotels or like the restaurants, or it's just a lot different with the venues. And so started doing that. And so now I help with some events out there. A lot of the industries are tech related because I have a friend that's very involved in the tech community out there. So, he does a lot with the venture. He does a lot with just what's happening with the administration. There's a lot of policy tech over there, naturally, and then stuff with the hospitality group. So if you guys need restaurant recommendations, happy to give. But to tie back to the Clear Sky Deals meetup, we decided that, okay, there's the education piece, but then you guys were doing all these meetups and sponsoring all these other groups, whereas we can keep it in-house. And so I remember we had multiple conversations about this where it was like, why don't we just do our own meetups, like a Clear Sky meetup? And so we ended up putting that together. And so now we do a monthly meetup where, we have the investors show up, or really anybody that's part of the real estate industry. But the thing that's very unique about the meetup is that it's deal centric. And again, being someone that has gone to a lot of these meetups in the area, none of them are focused on deals. Right. None of them. They're all presentations. They're all, okay, go network and meet other people, which I think is great. But then if you're able to also hone in on, okay, let's showcase deals here. Let's let you guys present your deals and get deals closed in this community. Now you're actually creating a community that you're going to come back to, because it keeps feeding you, right?
Useful
it's a two-way street,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And so this meetup, I think, is really great for the Clear Sky brand, because I think you mentioned this. You wanted to create this community. It's been something that you wanted to do for a while.
You've been to 3 or 4 million meetups over the years,
right.
talking and everything
And after
else.
pouring into all of those groups, now you know, okay, this is what's going to work, and this is what's not going to work. And the biggest thing is that you're providing value, because ultimately that's what it is. People are taking time out of their day. Tell people all the time, if you're going to go to an event, think about it. You're driving, at least 30 minutes, because in the Northern Virginia area, you got to think about traffic. Yeah. And then the event itself is maybe 2 hours, right? On average,
4 hours.
Right?
Yep.
You're meeting people there. You want to be very intentional about your time, because especially in this industry, your time is priceless.
Yeah.
So the 2 hours that you're spending at the event talking about the sky is blue and your dog and your cat, is that really useful? Versus going to an event where, we're doing sub-2 deals in DC, or someone's selling something off market in Virginia, or there's something going on in Maryland. And so I I'm very grateful to be a part of this event, because every time I talk about it, we've had a lot of positive feedback about it too. And I see this growing and just getting better every month.
Yeah, I just one thing to jump in. It reminds me of an old story of my college football coach, and I think it describes the other meetups. I don't mean this in a bad way, but he would talk about other teams leading up to the game, and he just would say they're doing a lot of this, a lot of talking, as opposed to the
Action.
shut up and go do it.
Right.
And that's what I like about as you're saying that these are real deals that people can either themselves participate in, or at the very least see it, watch it, follow it. Did that work? Did it not work? Was that a good deal? Should I look for something like that? Maybe that's a bad idea for me. So to actually look at a live, real thing, even if it's just to watch its development, is actually, to me, I've never seen anything like that in this industry.
And so I'd always say to people, this. Too much of this, not enough of this.
Same idea.
Too much talking, not enough action.
That's exactly. Yeah. It's nice to, like you say, and there's a place for talking, but if it's about something substantive, that's what really matters.
Which you brought a deal to the meetup.
Let's talk about
that's
it.
a good leeway.
Let's talk about the deal.
I had a house in Fairfax, and I was getting ready to sell it. And I had conversations with Charlie about this, and I was like, I'm probably going to need to do the new deck. I need to deal with the garage, repaint. It wasn't a ton of work, but it was still work that I needed to do. And we were hitting the summer market, which, as you guys know, it slows down considerably here because everybody's gone on vacation.
And it did in July.
Right. And with everything going on right now, too, just macro. And so he was like, well, because I had a verbal offer from an investor, which you guys all know, and he was like, I think you should still present at the meetup. And I was like, you know what? It's probably a great idea because, again, back to my point, every single transaction I've done, there's been one point in that transaction where I was like, the deal's not going to fall apart. Nothing's guaranteed, right? Until all the signatures are on paper. So I ended up presenting the deal verbally first.
Right.
And
during the ad hoc.
Yeah, during the ad hoc.
During the ad hoc. And it's funny because when you presented it during the ad hoc, I know you guys were like, huh?
Yeah, I saw their faces. And Sam's just like typing the address into the laptop. Yeah. So wait, let me clarify that. So when I presented at the ad hoc is when I got the verbal offer from the investor because he heard it. But I presented formally the next month, which is when I had the slide up with the photos. And then after that, he formally submitted an offer. So I was fortunate enough that it was the same guy. But
was the offer different or was it the same offer? I don't remember.
I upped it by 10.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I upped it by 10, and then we closed very fast. And
okay, good.
It was a 2.5 week close. It was something like very, very quick, which, as you guys know, because you're on the other side of that deal since you guys did the loan on it.
I don't even remember. 2.5 sounds like a long time. I thought it was shorter, but I don't remember.
It might have been.
It may have been.
All right, so the ad hoc.
The
ad hoc, and Ed's gonna like this because Ed's always saying, "How do we monetize the deals? How do we?" And I agree. How the hell do we monetize it? We have no idea, but. I think for you monetized it. So the ad hoc, you a month goes by, you made it, you got another $10,000. So that's good.
Right.
So
well, and what's interesting, there's so many interesting things about this, I think, because I'm a nerd. But I mean, you have the ability to fix up that house and do the whole thing and whatever.
Right.
And this is what people don't understand. Like, I mean, you can call it distressed. I mean, it needed work. There's different levels of distress. There's like gutting it distressed, and there's painting it distressed. But having managed my own house and some other properties and my property in Maine, people, unless they've been through it, don't realize how much work it is.
Yes.
And is it worth your time?
Yes.
So here, I mean, you were smart enough to realize that. A lot of people are not like, well, I gotta do this. And they don't really go through the analysis of, I'm not an expert on this, and I got to raise the money, and I got to wait 6 months or 8 months to the next season. And so whatever you want to call it, a wholesale is maybe not a distress sale so much, I think was a very good way for you to go. It maximized the money that came out of that deal,
Yeah.
and maximized your time, as you pointed out very wisely before, how valuable time is.
Right.
People never take that into account. I mean, if you look at when you're making $20 an hour or whatever, think about how many hours you have to work to make whatever, to buy anything today, and much less at $50 an hour. So I think that's very smart on your part. The other thing is that although obviously it was very easy for you to get into our thing, the nice thing about this Deals Meetup is pretty much anybody can submit a deal if they want to get an opportunity
Yeah.
to present a deal.
For sure.
We don't go and look at their deal, and we just, like you say, we want to make sure that they actually have something that they're representing,
Right, that they control.
But
Right.
the value of it or whatever, but there's a discussion about it. The people can ask questions. We can ask questions about the deal, look
Yeah.
at comps, whatever it is. And so I think that probably helped you. You saw that a bunch of times. And I think you realized, well, actually, this may fit. And there you go. You went and,
Yeah.
and this again goes back to the hiring thing that you have to be open in life to creativity, or you probably did not expect that situation would end there. But if you're learning
selling
all
a
these
home, yeah.
things,
Right.
yeah, well, all of a sudden
Yeah.
you're like, wait a second, maybe the standard way of doing it is not the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Well, also too, I think for you, looking back on the transaction, was it win-win? Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, you were happy with the price that you got.
Mm-hmm.
It avoided having renovation done to the
Right.
house while you're in there.
Right.
Right, that would have been a
No
big
brokerage
struggle.
fees.
You had no realtor fees, no brokerage fees,
Yeah.
and I actually think, the investor that bought it probably maybe overpaid for it a little bit. So that maximized the money in your pocket. So I think that was probably win-win. I think.
But that also shows you, though, the win-win is, and this often happens, right?
Yeah.
Who is the lowest cost provider to fix that property? Like if you go out and try to get 3 different contractors
Right.
for it, and you've
Right.
never done
Right.
that before, you're at risk of somebody
Right.
ripping you off,
Right.
whatever. Whereas this person
Right.
or us or whoever buys a property, you'd like, not that we don't have problems sometimes, but we have people we have used before that we vetted, so we have a better idea of our numbers. So that's where
Yeah.
we talked about in this podcast or another, that well, I guess you raised the issue. The point is, we want everybody to make money, and people think, well, if you make $1, that means I lost $1.
Not true,
But
right.
that's not how it
Not
works.
true, right.
Literally, a good deal is everybody is in a better position
Right.
from doing it. So I think this one is definitely that. Now, everybody's got to make their own analysis. Maybe he overthought the process, or maybe he knows his cost structure and that market. Because again, it's knowing the out sale. So I love these kind of scenarios
I
where,
do too.
and you get the check and you're like, I never have to think about it again. That's I don't think people
Right.
realize, having
Well,
gone
that's-
through the other side of
I
it.
think one of the biggest takeaways I had with this, and as I start the investment journey, is that the holding cost, it's not just the monetary value. The holding cost is the stress of the property, having to do the work on it, and knowing that, there's a time component here, there's the work component here,
Right.
the bidding that I would have had to do with the contractors, and I was like, it's not, it isn't just about, but I can make X amount more.
Plus the mental anguish.
Exactly, it's the mental distress. So it's not just it doesn't just come down to the profit margin or whatever
Yeah,
it is, because we're all
But
human.
the
at the
thing
end of
is,
the
it
day.
has. Well, there's also the market risk too, from you start to the end. But that's the thing is, everything. I had a great economics professor in college. I had a debate with him about this, but he was asking for the definition of wealth. Right? What's wealth? Well, people think about dollars in a bank account. That's an easy way to. But is that it? Is that what really makes you? And we talk about this on the investment side. If you're happy, that's wealth. If your stress level is lower than it was, that's wealth. And I mean, that's why do people go on vacation? They have less money at the end, but hopefully are happier and had a nice time in return. So you have to look at it more broadly than just purely dollars and cents on a page.
I agree, and to take that one step further, for me, swimming with sharks is wealth.
Right. In my case, this would be really bad because I would
So
be
for me,
eating.
that's wealth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So your miles may vary. Some people don't mind the stress, and again, that's where maybe we on the execution side, we kind of like that game and that process and that puzzle and fixing problems and whatever. And so we get money in return for that, but we're taking that burden from somebody else. And I learned some of this too in the insurance industry. For the insurance industry, if it works properly, you're paying premium money to the insurance company, and they're going to take care of a problem if it comes up. They have assumed the risk. My risk is capped. My risk is the premium and deductible, whatever. And it works well with like property insurance. It's pretty clear. You generally, if the house burns down, you're going to get covered. How could you function without having fire insurance on a house? But, and what have you done? You've given money in return for peace of mind in many ways.
Yeah, and so your deal also came with some family issues too, and so the mental anguish, right? And so, because I remember we were working on this thing
like last year.
A year ago,
I asked
right?
you about it a year ago.
A year ago, we were going to try and figure out, the deed issue, all this different stuff. And so for me, it's kind of like, all right, hell, I'm excited because full circle, right? It's done. You've spread your wings. You're free from the physical nature of living there. And now you can sort of move further on with your life. So, there's more to this than just some sort of monetary deal, which that's how we're transactional.
Well, and even the experience of if you've done that with this, where you had a pre-existing interest or relationship or whatever, it's not a far transfer to then purchase a distressed property from somebody you don't know.
Right.
And you can say to them, well, hey, I've done the same thing. I mean, it's actually very powerful to be able to say to somebody, I had a property and I decided I don't want to go through all the work. And so I sold it, and I can do that for you. I can get your property sold immediately, so you don't have to worry about this stuff.
And the other big takeaway I had with that house was, I got a taste of doing an off-market deal. How do I do more of that? So now to get into, what I want to do in DC is to find distressed properties there. Also knowing that, when you're buying it, the margin has to be a lot higher there because of everything that we're dealing with. It's a very, it's a slower market over there. There's a lot of vacant properties. There's a lot of blighted, right?
More repair costs. Older properties.
So I told him that I've been running for dollars. So I got back into running, and it's been a great way to understand the neighborhoods a little more. So obviously by foot, I can't go as further out than driving for dollars, but also we have row homes in DC. So as you run one block, you're probably going through 10, 15 houses sometimes, depending on the neighborhood.
I wouldn't know that. That's great. So do you say something into your watch?
So I'm trying to figure out a better way because it's been so hot. So it's hard to type into my phone or drop pins or something. So I'm figuring that out. But I've ran through enough streets now where I can pinpoint, okay, this is a general area. And I can now look it up on the maps. But I agree. When you do a deal like that, and it just kind of opens up the horizons, and it's the same principle.
Well,
right?
you do see the world
principle.
in a different place. Instead of seeing a distressed property before you do any of this stuff, you're like, oh, that's too bad. That's a mess. What's going to happen? Whatever. Now you're like, wait a second.
This could be mine.
I could take care. I could make money. I could help somebody out. It's a whole different way of looking at stuff.
And I think that's what it is when you come in with the mindset of, oh, this is a vacant property, but you think of it on a human level of someone's dealing with this.
There's a story.
There is. There's always a story, and it's how do I help this person because there's going to be somebody that takes the property off their hands, and the buyer's happy because they got the property, and then you middleman that transaction, so you're making money off it too. But I also think there's something to be said of being able to look somebody in the eyes and being like, hey, you don't have to. It's not just about being able to sell your property at X amount, because peace of mind is priceless. Right. And so gone through that, get it. The family stuff, it's hard. Right? Everyone can agree it's hard. Anytime there's family involved, and usually there is with a lot of these properties, because you're dealing with generations or trust or, relationships or whatever it is. But now that, again, I've seen some of that, I'm like, oh, I can actually take that and come at it from an angle of not trying to be some sleazy salesperson that wants to buy your property and make a dime off you.
That's brilliant. Yep.
But
That's brilliant.
Let me help you because I've been through it.
And it's funny. I'm just remembering before I got started in any of this, say back when I was just a big firm lawyer, my thought probably would have been, maybe because of my political leanings, that people buying distressed properties or whatever were taking advantage
Yes.
of people or screwing people. And it does exist. Like I know there's ones where people would give loans to somebody to fix up their house and then they'd spend the money on BS things so they could afford. I mean, it does exist.
It does.
And probably more than we realize because we don't do that stuff. But when you're actually in, you think, wait a second, this is actually can be a good thing as long as you have that win-win scenario. And the thing is, the reason you're successful, and I'm sure you'll be successful, is when you're honest with people, provide them information, maybe information that doesn't help you immediately, like our bankruptcy podcast. You tell them, hey, probably the best thing for you is to file a bankruptcy and take some time and think about it.
Yep.
You know, if you want to sell it in 3 days or 2 days, I can do that. But if you're not comfortable, file a bankruptcy and we'll talk about
Give you
it.
some more time.
Yeah, and if you sell it some other way, good for you. I mean, it's fine. I'm not, and I really think people like, oh, wait a second.
Yeah.
You know, and if the worst thing that happens is you met this person, you helped them, they got it, and they sold it traditionally, you help somebody, so you're not feeling bad about the circumstance.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
And so for you, it's like now you sounds like you're learning. Sounds like she's
got a
learning.
little taste of the
Sounds like
fun.
you're learning.
Yeah.
So hopefully next for us, I mean, you know, even though we're considered a, I guess an employer because we got HR sitting over here, right? I mean, you know, for us, or at least for me, it really hits home because anytime that I worked for the man, right? I had my normal engineering jobs. I worked for the man. I was always doing stuff on the side entrepreneurially.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess you want to call it moonlighting was the right term back then. And so some employers looked down on it because they wanted you to work for me and only me and don't do any moonlighting. But I was always moonlighting when I was working full-time jobs because I knew that's not what I wanted to do, and that eventually I would get to where I wanted to get to. So I was always trying to buy foreclosures, pre-foreclosures, do something real estate-wise, launch Video Stars. So I was always doing something entrepreneurial. And so for you, even though you're technically working for us, hopefully we're not the man, right? I like the fact that you're entrepreneurial in nature and that whether it's flipping houses or whether it's doing your event planning with your venture capitalist stuff and helping us out. You know, I just think to create a well-rounded person, you've got to always be looking for what you might want to do in the future. Mm-hmm. You can't just take these jobs and just work the jobs. You got to be entrepreneurial because if we were to say to you, oh, Sarah, don't do any of this stuff.
Right. Sit in an office and type numbers on a spreadsheet.
Yeah. How can we do that? That's exactly the way we evolved.
Right.
And so for me, it's nice. I like it. Don't get me wrong. I think it's great. You're learning. I think it's great.
Yeah.
You're young. You're growing. I think it's a win. Either way, it's a win. So
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
this is great.
Thanks for being part of the team.
This is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.